The anime begins by showing a young man named Orhun training alone, putting his sword technique to the test to confirm that he had not lost his edge. After facing and defeating a few monsters, he comes to the conclusion that his skill remained sharp. During the fight, Orhun reinforces his own body with support spells, applying physical enhancements and enchantments that make the blade even sharper. This type of magic is usually used to assist allies within a group, and it is rare to see a swordsman casting this kind of spell on himself. Even so, this was a unique fighting method, created and perfected by him over time. The downside is that his support spells remain active for only 180 seconds, which forces Orhun to renew them constantly, repeating the process every 3 minutes so as not to lose their effect. The narrative then returns a few hours into the past, showing the moment when Orhun was expelled from the hero's party by Oliver, his childhood friend. Annalie and Derek proved to be even harsher, bluntly stating that Orhun was being discarded for being weak and for hindering the group's progress. The team that he and Oliver had formed 8 years earlier had grown rapidly, reaching rank S and becoming the first group to reach the 94th floor of the Great Southern Labyrinth. Because of this achievement, they came to be known as the Heroes Party. Oliver explains that only recently did they realize how truly essential a support magic user was. During a joint mission carried out the previous month, they came into contact with other groups and were able to observe the impressive level of their support mages, who proved to be far more efficient and powerful than Orhun. Trying to defend himself, Orhun explains that his support magic really could not compete with that of a specialist, since his main role had always been fighting with a sword. He only began learning that type of spell because he realized the group needed someone to fill that role. Even so, none of his companions show any interest in hearing his reasons, making it clear that they had already hired someone else to take over the support position in his place. Faced with this, Orhun decides to accept his departure from the group without insisting any further. As he leaves the room, Annalie mockingly comments that people like Orhun were usually called Jack of all trades. Back in the present, Orhun reaffirms his determination to become stronger as a magic swordsman. Resolved to never again be called a Jack of all trades, he arrives at a room with a teleportation crystal and registers his return point there, ensuring that the next time he entered that dungeon, he would start from that floor. At that moment, a group appears running in panic, saying that they needed to flee because they would not be able to face the orcs they had encountered. They comment that they ended up leaving behind a girl who had just joined the group and, according to the leader, that had been a necessary sacrifice to save the other members. Upon hearing this, Orhun feels rage take over, as he knew very well the pain of being abandoned by those who were supposed to stand by his side. He harshly reprimands the group, questioning their actions, and demands to know exactly where they had left the girl. Meanwhile, the young woman struggles to survive, surrounded by orcs and overcome by despair. Orhun manages to arrive in time and intervenes before something worse happens. Observing the way he fought, the girl becomes confused, unable to understand whether he was a swordsman or a support mage, since until then she had always believed that each adventurer followed only a single class. She had never seen anyone fight like that. In just a few minutes, Orhun eliminates all the orcs that had been drawn to that location, decisively ending the confrontation. Orhun approaches and asks if the girl was all right. As soon as she hears that, she cannot hold back her emotions and begins to cry, letting all the fear she had been holding in pour out at once. Outside the dungeon, after calming down, she thanks him for the help and introduces herself as Sophia Claudel. Upon hearing that surname and looking more closely at the crest embroidered on her cloak, Orhun immediately recognizes where she came from. He then also gives his name. Sophia politely asks him to accept having dinner with her as a form of thanks. At first, Orhun thinks about refusing the invitation, but ends up accepting. When they arrive at the restaurant, Orhun notices the sign at the entrance, which bore the symbol of a rabbit, and this confirms his suspicion. Sophia was clearly part of the Silver Rabbits of the Night Sky, one of the most influential clans in the kingdom of Nohitant. Inside the place, Sophia ends up running into her older sister. As soon as she sees the young man beside her, the sister shows jealousy and questions who he was. reminding her that Sophia was still very young to be accompanied by a possible boyfriend. However, she already knew him, just as Orhan also recognized who she was. Selma Claudel was the leader of the strongest rankest group among the Silver Rabbits, in addition to being considered the most powerful support mage in the entire kingdom. It was also Selma who devised the system in which each member of a group should have a well-defined role. Attackers responsible for defeating enemies, defenders tasked with withstanding attacks on the front line, and support mages to strengthen and assist allies. It was precisely this same Selma, the exceptional support mage, to whom Orhan had been compared in the past, this being one of the reasons that led to his expulsion from the hero's party, since he was not seen as someone as brilliant as her. Selma addresses Orhan in a cold tone, asking whether he was taking an interest in her younger sister, who was 14 years old. Sophia quickly clears up the misunderstanding, explaining that she had been saved by him. Even so, Selma finds it strange that Sophia had entered the labyrinth alone, since she had said that the clan would only make its incursion into the Great Labyrinth the following day. Still, seeing that her sister was safe, she decides not to scold her at that moment. After that, Selma apologizes to Orhan for the way she spoke, and the three of them sit down to talk while having their meal. During the conversation, Selma mentions that she had not seen him since the joint mission carried out the previous month. Curious, Sophia asks where they knew each other from, and Selma explains that Orhan was a famous member of the hero's party. Upon hearing this, Sophia stands up nervously, clearly shaken by being so close to someone with such a reputation. Orhan tries to reassure her, explaining that he was no longer part of that group. Selma shows surprise at the group's decision to let him go, commenting that it made no sense to dismiss someone so talented without trying to keep him. Orhan chooses not to reveal the true reason for his departure. Shortly after, Selma decides to invite him to take part in a training expedition that the clan would carry out the day after tomorrow, promising a good reward for his help. At first, Orhan refuses the invitation, but Sophia begins to insistently ask him to accept and participate. Faced with this, Orhan asks for some time to think about the proposal. Selma agrees and hands him the address of the place where he should go if he decided to accept. That same night, Orhan visits his grandfather's apothecary. The old man thanks him, saying that the shop had been receiving many customers thanks to the recommendations made by Orhan. The boy apologizes, explaining that he had left the group and that he might not be able to promote the shop as he did when he was part of a famous group. Even so, his grandfather thanks him, stating that he was very proud of him, as he knew how hard Orhan had fought to get to where he was. To him, regardless of whether or not he was in that group, Orhan would certainly find his own path. 2 days later, at dawn, Orhan heads to the agreed location to take part in the expedition mentioned by Selma. And thus we finish the first episode of the anime, Jack of All Trades, Party of None. If you want the continuation of the next episodes, leave it there in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep catching the upcoming videos. See you, and until next time.